world focused on the individual, this podcast aims to shine a light on the remarkable spirit of humanity. We're dedicated to bringing you the inspiring conversations with exceptional organizations and individuals devoted to creating a better world. Welcome to the Lighthouse Keepers Podcast. Welcome back to the Lighthouse Keepers Podcast. I'm your host, Mary Ellen Sherlock, and I'm so excited to introduce you guys to today's guest, Tina Marie Bertoli. Tina Marie, thanks so much for being with us today. So excited.
Such a pleasure. Thank you.
Can you tell, first of all, I know that having the opportunity to meet you, to hear your story, is really one of the reasons why we do the Lighthouse Keepers Podcast. To know people like you and to tell your story. But can you tell a little bit of your audience, our audience, about your background and how you got to this point?
Yeah, absolutely. For probably almost 2 decades, I have been an intuitive, a healer, a spiritual teacher, a spiritual counselor, like all the things in the realm of yoga, meditation, etc. And I got to travel the world and teach, which was such a blessing. And I just have felt such a passion of helping people connect to their hearts, to their soul, to the light within them. And so that's been a huge part of my journey.
Mm-hmm. So it sounds like that it was a language that you knew before a life-changing event occurred.
Yeah, you could say that.
Yes, I think we can.
Yeah.
And I think that's the most interesting part that I've learned personally from knowing you, the adversity and the challenges that you were given. It almost feels, it doesn't feel like it belongs to you, a person of such love and light. Can you tell our listeners a little bit about that?
Yeah, so the event that we're speaking of is a very aggressive diagnosis of breast cancer. And what's crazy to even sit here and talk about that is that it wasn't that long ago.
Yes.
And yet it turned my world upside down. Mm-hmm. And as you're saying too, as a healer, as an intuitive, like, how does that happen?
Yes,
I'm
the
helping
two don't
people.
Seem to, this doesn't belong in that box.
Yeah.
You know, it doesn't seem like that should ever have happened to somebody who is doing that. And yet,
it's the biggest blessing of my life.
It is the biggest blessing. You mentioned that to me.
Yeah.
And I wonder sometimes if our listeners are hearing that.
And I will say too, like if I would have heard that back that first year,
yes,
I probably would have punched someone in the face.
Okay.
So
lovingly.
I say that with all like compassion. Yes. When you receive that, you're not thinking that like, oh great, especially the words aggressive breast cancer. And then my particular pathology, I would later find the growth rate of the cancer was so severe, was so fast that my holistic spiritual lifestyle, it was like, okay, I had even had a doctor say, yeah, you could try to pray on this one, but you probably won't be here then.
Yikes.
Like, so it's like, to even hear some of the things that I heard.
Right.
Even one of my integrative oncologists called it a monster. You have a monster inside of you. And it's like, what do you do with that?
How do you, is there any way to soften the blow on that one?
Yeah.
So then you're now going into your spiritual practice, your DNA, all of the stuff that you've incorporated into your life, into your personality, into your faith. What in that arsenal prepared you for that?
That's a really great question. So I didn't realize that so much of my past, even in the beautiful work that I did, and it was beautiful, that I was really checking out a lot of the times. I wasn't really completely in my body.
Okay.
I was good at really teaching spiritual concepts, but there's a disconnect there of knowing a concept and teaching it, or embodying it and walking it and practicing it. Mm-hmm. And so cancer actually was the catalyst to me coming back home into my body, and more importantly, aligning with my heart and having to really feel all the things I had suppressed my entire life.
Mm-hmm. Do you feel that, and I know that people who go through extraordinarily difficult times, is it okay to feel sorry for yourself? But you have to keep that in check. You are human going through a spiritual journey. Yeah. And so as the human, it's okay to throw yourself on the floor, have a good temper tantrum.
Yeah.
That is important
Absolutely, and I'm so glad you brought that up, because in retrospect, the gift that I gave myself, especially that first year, because it was a 2.5-year recovery. The first year was very physical and healing, and I really let myself be human. I let myself go into the victim role. You know, why did this happen? All the why me's.
Yes.
Why am I being punished? But I really let myself feel it, because at that point, what else did I really have?
Right.
So there was always a deeper me, though, that was very conscious and surrendering. And I learned from the beginning, I'm not going to be able to do this my way.
Yes.
And what's my way anyway?
Right.
And that was a deeper of, okay, this is where I'm surrendering to God. I'm coming back home to the purity of the light within me to really listen on a deeper level, because obviously I wasn't really hearing or listening prior.
Right. That brings up a good point. How do you know, or when did you know? When did your intuition tell you this is a person I should be listening to, or that advice is good, or I consumed everything and then I vetted it out through my own feelings, what I felt was right for me?
Yeah, well, actually, my whole journey pre-cancer, it was always the next teacher, the next person, the next program, the next class.
I see.
And I feel like it was like God saying, can we just be still and have it just be you and me? And so
wow.
when I was that limited, and I was, like from the
Yes.
surgeries, from the chemo, all the things I never thought I would do, it literally had me so limited that all I could do was really feel, breathe, and be.
Speaking of breathe,
Yeah.
can you tell us a little bit? This is the most fascinating thing I've ever heard. This Alchemy of Breath program.
Yeah.
I'm riveted by it. I really am. It's so. It sounds revolutionary in its absolute, this basic part of life, but the fact that majority of people don't use it is really remarkable to me.
Yeah, and there's a saying, the way you breathe is the way you live, which could be a beautiful thing or a frightening thing, and it's not meant to, judge, it's meant to just bring awareness.
Awareness, yes.
And that's the funny thing, is because pre-cancer, being a Kundalini yoga instructor, it's all breath work, but it's not the kind of breath work that I now teach and train other people in. And that's what you're talking about. In the aftermath of surgeries that had me have 2 frozen shoulders, one of the surgeries had to go in for reconstruction to the fact that I was limited in my whole core. And then on top of it, the chemotherapy was so intense and toxic because of the fast-growing nature of the cancer. They just give it all to you. That left me not only just feeling depleted, depressed. I felt like I had a stroke. Just kind of painting.
You're young. I mean, this is just the craziest thing. You're so young.
Yeah, but I'm just trying to paint the picture of how bad it was, and then finding this particular breath work, where in one session I went from laying there and not even PTSD-wise, it was just like I didn't even know how I was going to even live post-chemo because of how I felt. To then having this 30 to 50 minute breath work where I was just laying, because all I could do was lay there. And it was like, whoa, because I really believe too, that breath is life, is God, is light, is prana, is source. So that time of breathing, it was like cleansing, it was clearing, and I just knew something lit up inside of me, that this is what it's always been about. Me being with me breathing open, no more closing, and really listening from the inside.
You were mentioning when we spoke one other time, you said there was a moment that I really kind of collapsed into this. I allowed myself, I had no hair. It was the eyebrows, the eyelashes go, and it was just a moment of, it's a gut punch when you're like, really? Really? How much, as a person that has, I believe, a very strong faith, at that moment where you're like, come on, did you ever have moments where you're like, that's it, I'm out? I don't really have faith, or it was starts and stops, or?
Yeah, it was actually the very beginning, hearing those words that you never expect to hear, the aggressive breast cancer, that those weeks that followed was a crisis of faith.
Okay.
Where I went into such pure fear and terror, because when you are in that when you see people read your pathology, these different doctors, and you see the look on their face,
Like,
it's just like, I don't even know like how I even dealt with that at the time. And that was probably my darkest, because I just, I was literally faced with my biggest fear, which always was death.
And then in your journey, as you're trying to just go about yourself, heal yourself, deal with your own emotions, how much did you have to do to carry your loved ones through them understanding aggressive cancer and listening to the reports and them supporting you? I think we've said one of the hardest parts about being on the sidelines is the absolute feeling of helplessness. How do you deal with that while starting to say, like, you know what, I just need to focus, I need to worry and heal myself, but you're coming with a cast of thousands of people that love you and care about you and want to do something. How do you deal with that?
Yeah, that's a real struggle, because family, friends mean well, and yet a lot of times they say things that are not what you want to hear, and everybody wants so badly to help, and they feel uncomfortable that I had to just really, and I chose to, I recorded a prayer and I told everyone, I don't want you to pray for me getting better. I don't want you to see me as sick. I ask that you hold me in the space that I'm already in complete health and well-being.
Right.
And I even recorded a little prayer, like, if you don't know what to say, just listen to
Say
this.
yeah.
And then I also, it was kind of a gift in a lot of ways, going through it. It wasn't really an option to like even connect with others. I knew that my health had to be my full-time job, and that anyone that didn't understand that, it was like I had to prioritize myself. And I think for so long I was always making sure everybody else was okay, even as a teacher. And this time it was, I have one chance. I was even told that you have one chance at this.
Right. That's amazing. And so today, when you have your practice,
Yeah.
and you see people that are in a similar plight that you are in, do you take the plight of I'm here to support you, whatever and everybody's journey is different? Is it hard? Or people more like, help me heal, help me do what you did? Is it an individual thing, one size fits all? How does that work?
Well, it really depends. I mean, I really believe that what I went through, I experienced a huge consciousness shift. And to go back quickly to what you said before, because the no hair, no eyebrows, no eyelashes is pretty intense, because that happened after chemo. So it was just like, now I'm done with chemo, about to not even know how to live.
Try to heal.
And now I looking in the mirror, and who is that?
Who is this person?
And so all of that really sent me even deeper inward with the breath work to really heal on deeper levels. And because of that, though, because I kept meeting myself on the inside and crying it out or shouting it out, feeling and just having a lot of time to just be, that in that consciousness shift, I now don't see others as sick or limited. If they do, that's what they think. For me, it's to hold them in the light. And so sometimes that means, a lot of times, honestly, that means letting them be in their pain. I can't feel pain for someone, and you really can't heal without feeling what's here in the moment in the body.
Yes.
So I can provide that space, and I can counsel and help, and then sometimes it's really just in my sharing my story or in intuitively what maybe that person needs to hear.
Interesting.
But then ultimately it's that person's choice, and they might be in a real victim stage or wanting to blame stage. And the more though that I can hold them in their highest, that's what divine truth is. So that's always going to win. And then that person has the opportunity when they're ready to let in something higher.
Can you tell us a little bit about the alchemy of breath? That this goes really beyond healing. I mean, it does. Obviously, it did. For things more than cancer. It does so much more. Can you tell our listeners about that?
Yeah.
I'm so interested in this.
So Alchemy of Breath is the school that once I learned about this particular type of breath work, as fate would have it, I found the school. I started having it be part of my recovery because I couldn't believe how much it was doing for me, and then started as a student. It's a 9-month program online, and then in Italy is where the kind of home is.
That doesn't stink.
Then there's an in-person, 10-day breath camp, it's called, and I got so much out of it that then I became a mentor, and then I got connected with the founder, and then he was like, do you want to come and your story is so powerful, would you want to come and train for us? And so now being immersed in it daily for the last 2 years and teaching it, the breath itself and this particular type of breath work, well, first of all, 75% of how we cleanse is the breath. It's known to not only clear the brain and cleanse the brain, which is why from the chemo, the breath is what was really helping.
Wow.
It helps to really help you access higher states of consciousness. It's known to connect neural pathways so that if you're really struggling with some kind of stress or addiction, the breath knows what to do because the body knows how to heal.
Right.
We just have to get out of the way.
Right, yes.
So when people just think, oh, I'm just going to lay there and breathe. Yeah, that's really all you have to do.
Give that a try. Yeah. You might actually find you like that.
You might even,
Yeah, that's incredible. I have a very uncomfortable question, but something that I find for people like you and I believe in past lives. Sorry.
I do too.
Okay. Do you believe that you signed up for this?
Yeah.
You do. Now you do.
Yes.
You totally knew that this was my journey. This is what I signed up to do. If I said to you today, hey, we have time travel, we can go back to the day you were diagnosed and it was a mistake, would you do it?
No.
No.
No, I would do it the same way all over again, and I would make sure it was at that intense. At the time, I was like, cancer, it can't be, if it was a slow-growing cancer, then I could do the holistic treatments. Not for me, my path.
Right.
I'm an intense person, or at least I was pre-cancer, and the illness had to be intense too. And yet now I know so much through being in the dark. Because it was the dark that I found that I am the light that I've been seeking.
Right.
But that can't just be a little pretty saying.
Yes.
It had to be me really being there.
Yes.
And the past life thing too, whether people believe in them or not, I believe that whatever is here in the moment is God's will. And now I can fight that, or I can embrace that.
Right.
But which is really going to serve me in my life.
Right.
And that took some time too, to realize, okay, I have the opportunity here to really embrace and feel everything in order to really heal.
Right.
So that I can transmute the lower energies and then be able to be a brighter light.
Right.
You can't just be a brighter light by being positive. It doesn't work.
Right. I agree. When you encounter people that are cancer survivors, do you feel that they all feel the same way? That, sometimes they say, this didn't happen to you, it happened for you. And yet there's so much struggle, so much pain, so much illness and sickness. And you said years, of this struggle. They all feel the same way though. There's something that there's a gratitude in coming through the other side of that really has changed my life.
Yeah, I believe that all challenges, illness, obstacles are an initiation.
Right.
And yes, you get to be human, so you can gift yourself that as I did.
Yes.
And at some point, it's your choice to stay in the victim role,
Right.
to ask questions like, why me, which will never serve you. Or you could ask, what's really seeking to move through me? What's really happening here? And you can move through the hardship, because it's only through embracing it
Right.
that's going to help you move beyond it. And so most people, I think, at some point really receive the blessings, because at some point you kind of have to surrender.
Right. Do you feel that the medical community today, as we make advances in technology, that they are embracing the mind, body, spirit part of healing certain kinds of illnesses like a very aggressive cancer?
That's a very controversial question, and I'd have to say, with no judgment, but just observation and experience, that our healthcare system is not anything about health. It's more of keeping people sick and then, having them be on pharmaceuticals, and it's a whole business. I'm not saying that there aren't beautiful people that are raising awareness. It's not enough yet. And there is a tremendous amount of fear. And I used to get really angry, and I used that anger going into every appointment to stand up for myself and to be an advocate for myself. However, in retrospect, and even now, they're doing the best they can at the consciousness level that they are. But that doesn't mean that it's the highest truth for everyone. And so I learned, okay, that's one thing that they're saying based on data, not based on me and who I am.
Yes.
So I can take that information, I can go in and really listen, and then I can just say, no, thank you.
Yeah.
I'm going to seek something higher.
Got it.
And we all have that, but sometimes it can be a little trouble because we give our power away to a doctor thinking that
Fear.
they know.
Yes.
And they don't.
Yeah.
They really don't know.
So I have to tell you something. When I was thinking about you and when we did the conversation before, I saw a quote a few weeks ago, and I said, I have to read this to her. It's by Ralph Waldo Emerson, and it says, "What lies behind you and what lies in front of you pales in comparison to what lies within you." So you knew it.
I did.
Always pressed. Tina Marie, thank you so much for being here today. But before you go, can you kind of tell our guests, where can they find information about you, about the Alchemy of Breathwork? If they wanted to reach out, where can they find you on your websites and things like that?
Yeah, absolutely. You can go to staroflifehealing.com. That's my site. Alchemyofbreath.com is the school. On social media, I think Instagram is Tina Marie 444.
And we'll roll that for all the listeners out there who are so interested in you.
Yeah.
I cannot thank you enough for being here, for being incredible lighthouse keeper you are. You truly are a beacon of light, and you embody everything about why we do this show. So thank you so much for being with us today.
Thank you so much.
Take care, everybody. Thanks for being with us today.
Thank you for watching and being part of this journey. Remember that lighthouses symbolize hope. With hope, we persevere and inspire positive change. If you enjoyed this episode, don't forget to subscribe, leave us a review, and share it with your friends. Until next time, keep shining your light.